in this video. Hello everybody, and welcome to the 61st video on my channel. We are back with another trigonometry video, and I think that's all that's there to say. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification button for more awesome videos just like this. Without further ado, let's move on to the lesson. Tangent of theta and cotangent of theta. So I think it's about time we just start with the tangent of theta. The tangent of theta, unlike the sine and cosine of theta, has an asymptote. And that asymptote is pi over 2 plus n pi for the x, and where y is equal to infinity. And n is any integer. Integers meaning -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, etc. How we graph asymptotes, we do dashed vertical lines. And that's all that's about it to graphing asymptotes. So I think that's all we need to know. Let's go and graph tangent of theta. But first, we need to label both of the axes. So there you have it. We have both of our axes labeled. For the x-axis, we want in intervals of pi over 2 to capture the axes, to capture the asymptotes. And we have 1 and -1 on the y-axis because the tangent of pi over 4 is equal to 1. So I think that's about it. So let's actually get to graphing it. So pi over 4 is 1, so we're going to have this over here. And then tangent of 0, well that's sine of 0, which is 0, over cosine of 0, which is 1. So tangent of 0 is 0, and tangent of pi over 2 is a vertical asymptote. So this section of the graph would look like this. So that's one part of the graph, and then if we look at it again, it's pretty much the same thing. But what's going to be here is 3 pi over 2 is going to be infinity, because that's just pi over 2 plus 2 pi over 2, which is a multiple of pi. And then we're going to have the same thing, where sine and cosine are going to be equal, and the slope is positive the whole time. So this is also going to be 0 over here. This is going to go up, go all the way up to infinity. And from down here, it's going to be -infinity and going up and like this. And it's going to be the same thing at 2 pi and so on. That's how the right side of tangent of theta is going to look. For the left side, tangent of -pi over 2 is equal to tangent of pi over 2 is equal to -infinity. Same with -3 pi over 2. So if we draw the vertical lines over here, but pi over 4, -pi over 4 is equal to -1. So we're going to draw it over here, and pi over 2 is going to be here. So it's going to look something like this. And then for 3 pi over 2, we're also going to have the same thing. And for -pi, we're going to have 0. So here, and the graph's going to look something like this. Now, one interesting thing about tangent of theta is it's going to have a positive slope everywhere on the graph. It's always going to go up. So it's also pretty easy to determine the shape of tangent of theta like that. So here we're going to have here. And yes, that's how tangent of theta looks. And now I think it's time we go into graph cotangent of theta. So cotangent theta is pretty much the exact opposite of tangent of theta. Its asymptotes are at pi n, where n is any integer. So what we can do is we can just draw the vertical dashed lines at 0. Well, that's the vertical line there. We can draw a vertical dashed line at pi. We can draw a vertical dashed line at 2 pi. We can draw a vertical dashed line at -pi and at -2 pi. So those are all the asymptotes that we have for the graph. Now let's graph everything. Cotangent of pi over 4 is equal to 1 actually. So we have that over here. Cotangent of 0 is infinity, and then cotangent of pi over 2 is 0. So the graph of cotangent over here would look something like this. And it would be the same thing at 3 pi over 2 and 2 pi, and in between that. And all we can do is we can just copy it down on the other side. So this is how the graph of cotangent of theta is going to look almost the exact opposite of the tangent of theta. And that's about it for the graph. And cotangent theta has a negative slope all the time, while tangent of theta has a positive slope. And yeah, that's about it to the graphing. In our next video of the graphing series, we're gonna have secant of theta and cosecant of theta. Thank you so much. See you in the next one, and bye-bye.